Hi friend, today we're going to make a scrap wood American flag using these pickets that I have here. I'm excited to show you this project. Now it started because I also made a wooden sign for our front porch. You see it here, it says welcome, it's really cute. I have a blog post full of a tutorial for that and I will link it down below. The first step that you have to do is grab some reclaimed pickets. You can also use new pickets, but I happen to have some laying around. I cut them to length. Mine are cut to about 30 inches long. Then I used the scrapped end pieces and a screwdriver and a couple of wood screws, and I attached them so that the three pieces would stay together. Then I picked my paint colors. I got a bright red, a gorgeous deep blue, and I grabbed a white. Even though my pickets are white, I don't need to use it. But if you decide to use brand new pickets, you're going to need a white color. You can buy new pickets at your local home improvement store for about $2 each. You only need 3 of them, so the total cost of this project is cheap. Once I had the 3 picket boards joined together with those scrap ends, I had to get this thing sanded down. There were some rough edges. Now, I probably should have scrubbed it, but my flag is going to be hanging outside, so I'm not too worried about it. I grabbed my orbital sander and I just scuffed over the whole thing. This took off some of the loose paint that was already there, and then of course it took care of the raw edges from where the boards had been cut. And that's as simple as that. Then I grabbed my long hose vacuum cleaner, more on that here in a second, and I vacuumed the whole thing while it was still outside in my driveway. I love this part of any project. Put a paintbrush in my hand and some pretty colors and I am set to go. I turn on a podcast and you know it. I like to listen to crime podcasts like Dateline and 48 Hours, and according to you guys, you all love to listen to those programs as well. So I grabbed my paint, I gave it a good stir. Now, by the way, you really do have to stir this paint well because all of the properties of the paint will settle to the bottom and you want them evenly distributed in the paint. So I grabbed my paintbrush and I started painting this first color for this American flag, and the color is perfect. I'll have all the colors that I used linked down below, but if you already have a gorgeous red and a gorgeous blue and a gorgeous white, go for it and use the colors that you already have on hand. Now, like I mentioned, my pickets are reclaimed from a fence that my niece gave to us, lots of pieces of pickets, so I have lots of them. But if you don't happen to have reclaimed pickets laying around, not many of us do, you could always go to either Lowe's or Home Depot, and this is the time of year that you want to go because they have replacement pickets ready. They're usually pine or cedar, and they could be treated pine. You'll have to look into that and decide what's best for the purpose that you want to use it for. I have these, they were ready to go. Now I only have to paint the blue and the red because I'm going to leave the white as is. I like the look of that. The chippy paint that's already there is creating this layer of texture. You can see it, and that is just right up my alley. I still love chippy paint. I love a rustic, old worn look. How about you? Do you like a rustic look? Do you like chippy paint still? Do you like to paint like me, like just grabbing a paintbrush and going to town? Do you enjoy this kind of project? I sure do. I'd love to hear from you down in the comments if you like painting and if you like chippy wood and rustic finishes. I applied 2 coats of the blue and 2 coats of the red, and then I put my sign outside to dry in the sun. And my little dog here, his name is Barkley, he watched. I took a few steps away from him and he likes to bark if he thinks I'm leaving, I guess. Now listen, somebody said once to me here on YouTube that it was terrible that I had my dog chained up on a leash like this. Well, if I don't, he would run out into the road and chase cars, and well, we all know what would happen there. So to keep him safe, I keep him on a lead. He can stay right there for me, and in a strange way, he feels more secure when he's on that lead. Let's talk about how I'm distressing this. I'm just taking a scrap piece of sandpaper that I keep the leftovers from my orbital sander, and I keep using them and using them and using them just to save money. Anyway, I took like about a 150 grit and I just went over the whole piece to scuff up and bring out some of that original white color again. If you have a new picket, you're not going to exactly have this look, so you have a couple of options. you could paint the entire thing white and allow it to dry completely. And then when you go back to sand off some of the edges, you can pull through some of that white. Or you could also stain the wood really dark and then paint everything. And that way, when you go to scuff off some of the layers of paint like the blue and the white and the red, you'll get a darker tone underneath. That's a good way to do it as well. You could also paint them the white and the red and the blue, and then on the red and the blue, you could just dry brush over a little bit of the white paint and you'll get a similar effect. There's lots of ways to do it. This is just how I do it. When I'm all done the sanding, I take that shop vac and I get all that paint dust out of the way because I don't want that as I clear coat this piece. Anyway, here is this amazing vacuum that I've already told you about before, but let me talk about it again because it is my favorite tool in the workshop. Actually, I have another favorite tool. I'll show you that here in a minute. This is a wall mount vacuum cleaner, a shop vac that came with this really long hose. So I can hang it on the wall, I can stretch it over to my workbench. You already saw I stretched it out to my driveway. This is such a good tool to have in my workshop, my garage workshop. And by the way, my husband also can use it to clean out the cars. He pulls up the car, in my case a truck, and he can reach that vacuum right in there. It just makes it super easy. Here is my second favorite tool. So I love that DeWalt drill that I have. I use that on a regular basis, and my husband bought this tip for me here. It is called a flip drive, I think, but it's an attachment that you put on the end of your drill, and then you can flip it around. And one end has the drill bit, and the other end has the screw bit. So here you can see, you just push that thing up, you can flip it around, and there you have the other end that you need. So I can pre-drill a hole very quickly, flip it around, and then use that bit and a little screw and put it right in whatever project I'm working on. Now in this case, I'm adding these screws to add this wire hanger. The screws are kind of special. I'll show you those here in a second. But I just screw them in partly, and then I take this heavy wire that I got at my local Ace Hardware. It's pretty stiff, and I use this as the hanger, and I wrap the end around the screw head, and then I tighten down that screw, and it holds that wire hanger. I have done this with so many other projects, and it really does work well. The fun thing is that it will rust a little bit over time, and it just adds to that rustic look. Then on the ends, you can see that I have a little curly Q. That's just simply wrapping it around the end of a screwdriver and giving it like a little, a little curly Q. If you go to your local Ace Hardware or Home Improvement Center, just look for a heavy, heavy wire. I'm not sure the gauge of this, but it's pretty stiff, if you know what I'm saying. So here's that screw. You see the black one there in the background? It has like a washer head on it, not like the one in the foreground where it's kind of flat. You need that washer head because when you wrap that wire around, that is what's going to help hold that wire down nice and flat after you tighten the screw down completely. Let's take a look at how I handled the star part of my flag. I happen to have a gold metal star in the background that's been hanging on our front porch for a while. They were really popular back in the day. I don't remember when they became popular, but I bought one. No, actually, I found this one at an auction. It might have been a freebie or maybe $1. And I decided to use that as my star. Now, if you don't have something like that, I do have an alternative for you that's going to work. So stay tuned all the way to the end of the video so that I can give you a couple of alternative ideas if you don't have a metal star. I used a screw and I just centered it, I eyeballed it and used that drill bit and then the screw head on that attachment. I put in the screw partially, and then I was able to take the star that I have. It has a little hanger on the back, and I could just hook it right over top of that screw. The great thing about this project is that I can use that star for another project down the road if ever I change my mind about this American flag. For now, it's working perfect. Remember that sign that I showed you at the beginning with the big sunflowers and the welcome made out of pickets? Well, that's hanging on my front porch. So I wanted another sign or, wall art for my back patio. This is just outside of my workshop. You can see my workshop there on the left. And then when you step towards my home, we have this small breezeway, and this is usually where the guests come to visit, and this is the door that we use the most. It goes right into my laundry room, and I thought it would be the perfect place to hang this flag. So again, I'm using my drill. I'm using that same bit. I can just flip it around, pre-drill a hole into the wood siding that we have here in the breezeway, flip that tool around again to add the screw, and then boom, I can hang this American flag. Super easy. If you don't have this drill and this attachment, you need it. I'll have it linked down below. It is a must for your workshop. And there it is. What do you think of it? Isn't it so cute? Now my back door is going to be painted this summer. I think I'm going with the navy blue, but for now it's absolutely perfect. I love this flag hanging at the back. You might remember that little bird cage there on the left. We made that over a couple of videos ago, plus that little tea cart stand. Obviously, I still need to get some flowers and such. Now listen, if you don't have a metal star, I have a project for you that you can make with paint sticks. You see it here on the screen. It is just a star that I made out of, I actually made mine out of reclaimed louvers from a louver door, but you can also make this with paint sticks. So I'm going to leave a link to the blog post as well as the video so that you can watch how to make your own star. Now, if you make it like that, you could get that gold digger paint, metallic paint, and paint it in gold, and that would be so pretty. You could actually make it over the star any way that you want. Once you get it built, it's super easy to make, and of course it's really cheap to make as well. I would like to invite you to join my Facebook group. It's called Recreate and Decorate with Reinvented Delaware. I'll have it linked down below. Join us so you can share your projects, and if you make this flag, I want to see it, and that's a great way to share it with me. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.